Feeling good, Italian job.
Feeling good, Tommy boy. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Looks like Christmas has exploded in your house as it has in mine.
Yes, I'm currently downstairs in the basement, the quietest spot in the house, and somehow a Christmas tree has manifested over my shoulder. I feel like the Grinch because I've got the smile, two sizes too large. When let's just say happy wife, happy life. We say that a lot, but my wife wanted a tree in the basement, so we have a tree in the basement. So we got that going for us, which is nice.
I think you're giving Biltmore a run for its money and how many trees you have.
Oh man.
Looks good. Well done. How was your week?
It was a good week. So this was a really good week. Last time we spoke, I told you I was manifesting a good time out of thin air when it came to the football game that was going to happen on Thanksgiving Day. And I will tell you, a good time was had by all and no one was injured. So I manifested something out of thin air and it was a good thing. So maybe I'll do it again this week with my one up, one down, but it has been a good week. Looking forward to the holiday season, looking forward to what's upcoming this evening and this weekend. So it's been good. What about you, man?
Outstanding. Yeah, great. Survived Thanksgiving. Had a lot of fun. We do an annual Black Friday convergence with the FIA ladies, and that was a blast. Had a ton of 2.0s. I think we went eight FNGs, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a great way to expose what we're up to and our mission to more and more people. Everybody who stepped up to lead did a fantastic job. Cafeteria immediately followed on site, so that's always great. Yeah, I'm trying to think of anything down this week. Honestly, in the world of F3, it's been a solid week. It's hard to be down when you've got things like cadre boot camp happening, right? So as we're recording this, guys from all across the country are going to converge on Ohio and step up in a huge way, right? To be the next generation of cadre for Grow Ruck. When you want to talk about giving it away, I can't think of a bigger opportunity to step up and step into something that's way bigger than yourself.
No question.
In order to fuel the fire, as it were, for future Grow Rucks.
And I'll tell you, seeing some of the names on that list, there is not a single non-high impact man on that list. And for them to be selected, first off, just to be selected to attend the Cadre Academy, it tells you these are solid dudes that I will follow them just about anywhere. And I can't wait to hear the stories and to see the next group of cadre that come out of those the academy. But there's some solid dudes that I've had the pleasure to share Grow Ruck events alongside. And I know that these guys are hard chargers and they're great leaders. And then most importantly, they care about the man next to them. So I'm excited to see what happens. Good group of dudes.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, let's dive into it. I know today is kind of the phase 2 of a previous conversation we had with Olaf and the art of the EH. And this is kind of what happens next. You got the guy, he's involved, but then what? So I'll let you take the reins.
Yeah. So it's interesting you mentioned Olaf. Part of our workout on Thanksgiving Day, we had about 75 guys in Fort Mill. And we left after the workout. We had fried turkey, fried Oreos, fried Snickers. It's a tradition in Fort Mill. And then Olaf, myself, and a handful of other guys drove to another region to play football. And before we started, I'm looking for Olaf, can't find him anywhere. There just happened to be a random passerby running on the track around the football field. I can't find Olaf, and guess what he's doing? He's EHing the guy on the track. I'm like, Olaf, we got to play. It's time to go. It's go time. So that guy absolutely gets it. It was not just for the podcast. He lives the EH. So that next step, we mentioned the first thing is getting the guy, EHing guy to come out. So you get a guy to come out, he has survived the workout. Now it's time to give him a nickname. And it's something that I hold very sacred. I like to give good nicknames that are not so surface level. A guy who plays golf, it's easy to call him Bogey. Let's go a little bit deeper. So Tommy boy, I want to ask you, you've had an FNG come out, and what kind of questions do you ask to name a guy? And do you have a favorite FNG naming story that you could share with the listeners?
Lots of stories. I have to find one that I could actually share, right? Because my favorite ones are always the ones that didn't work at first, and you have to wind up ultimately renaming the guy. But it's to your point. To be very honest, open-ended questions are the best, right? it's easy to ask a guy what his favorite movie is, or look at it if he shows up in a Jets t-shirt to name him Butt Fumble,
Mhm.
is another story, right? But which, by the way, is a phenomenal name.
I
But
agree.
it's for me, what I've learned and what I've seen be most successful during a name-orama is the listening portion, because that's how you make it about that guy. And if you can come up with enough open-ended questions that leave him a space to step into and answer, the real challenge is to listen and make it about him versus how funny can I be or how clever or creative can I be, which makes it about us, right? Rather than the F and G. So that just some thoughts there, because it really is easy to jump in and start flailing away at names. But the challenge and the real gift that you're giving to this new guy is an open space and to listen, because right off the bat, then you're creating a safe spot. So,
Yep.
months down the road, if he wants to share something he's going through, he knows he can, because he's been in that space before. But I will share it quick. We had to rename a guy once, right? So it was at a Tuesday workout. We call it fence line because we used to line up on the fence and run band. It was a band workout, right? A stress band workout. And this guy rolls up. It was summer, no shirt, electric blue bicycle shorts, like 80s bicycle shorts, not these new highfalutin ones, right? And steps out, works out. The guy's a beast. I would hope
Well,
that's
first off,
obvious.
if he's showing up in bicycle
Yes.
shorts and no shirt, he's probably pretty fit. Let's just throw that out there.
That's right. And so he works out, does a great job, steps in the middle, shares a few things, doesn't even matter. So this is us doing exactly what I said don't do. Nut Hugger was his initial name, right? So Nut Hugger was his initial name. Grape Smuggler got thrown out as well.
By the way, not a name you yell out at a grocery store. One of the rules we like to say is if you can't say it at church, or you can't introduce this guy to your wife or kids at the grocery store, probably not a great name.
Exactly.
Nut Hugger, fantastic name for a fraternity. Not a great name for, hey, Nut Hugger at the grocery store. Probably not a good call.
Yeah, unless you're dealing with like a nutmonger, right, at the grocery store, you're not going to be shouting that out.
That's right.
So we took a moment. We realized, we're not going to shout that out in a crowded space. So we went, to your point, several layers deep, and now he is proudly known as Blue Oyster. So for all of you Police Academy fans out there, you're welcome. And if you're not aware of the reference, go look it up, because it's a good one. Don't do it on the office computer, just like I wouldn't recommend anybody Google the word merkin. Google image that at work. But yes, that was definitely a memorable name-orama. How about you?
That's a good one. So one of the rules, one of the things that I like to say when a guy steps in, I like to say, tell us enough to get a good nickname. Tell us too much, you get a really good nickname.
That's
so
great.
I had a guy one time, we EH'd him, had been working on him for years, and we ran into him at a charity fun run. And I just happened to be the guy who was the last one to ask. So he showed up the following Thursday at a workout. And I asked him, I said, well, tell us a little bit about yourself. And he said, I'm a solicitor. And I said, hold up right there. So like, you solicit like in the red light district, like Roxanne? And all of a sudden the whole crowd went, Roxanne. So for those who are ill-informed, because I was not informed, a solicitor is actually an attorney, and he works for the county or for the district. And Roxanne has owned that name now for about 45 years. And every single time he says his name, Matt Shelton, 42, Roxanne, the whole crowd says, Roxanne. So that one just went real well, because he's a solicitor, and I automatically thought soliciting for the prostitution in the red light district. And he was like, no, that's not what it is. Well, he owns it now. And a little side note, every guy that I know that has a chick name is a stud. Yes. You'll hear about Cindy and Charlotte, dudes fit. You hear about these chick names. If you are a listener with a gal name, it's because we know that you can handle it. And there's nothing worse, or there's nothing better than saying, I got a beat down courtesy of, and then insert a female name. So that's one of my favorite ones, just because the way it rolled out and the way that he took it, he owned it, he ran with it. And now, I mean, it's just a thing. So I really enjoy that one.
Yeah, anybody that can own their name. You see a lot of video name-oramas now. Guys have hand signals and dances, and it's like watching a mini version of WWE, right?
It's
Um,
interpretive dance, which maybe another pod in the future will be if you had a song to come out to, if you had a walkout home run song or a wrestling song as you walk in, what would that song be? Think on that. We'll save it for another pod. So, all right. So we've got the guy, he came out, we named him. He's now one of us. I don't want to say a new creation, but he's a new being. He's got a name. He's part of this brotherhood, a guy that, let's be honest, if you're in a region of a few hundred people, you probably don't know everybody's birth name. You know them by their nickname when you see them at the grocery store, see them at church. So let me ask you, how do you get this guy to come back? What kind of things have you seen? What actions can a region or a guy in a region take to make sure that FNG comes back for another workout and then becomes a regular as part of your region?
Yeah, it's got to be immediate and it's got to be intentional, right? So, Sacked is a guy in our region. So after I posted, I got this great email from him. We had barely talked. He was not the Q. He was not who EH'd me to F3. He was there that day. And we have since modified that email, and we'll make it available in the links to the show notes here. But it's a great way to say, on behalf of F3 blank, in my case, F3 Greensboro, welcome to F3. It's a rundown kind of bullet points of here's our national website, here's our local website. You'll get an email from us each week about our goings on outside of the Gloom, as well as what's happening, who's leading in the upcoming weeks. Provided his contact information and shared where he was going to be in the coming days, where I could find him again. And so not only was I come alongside by the guy who EH'd me, got to meet some great guys in the Gloom, was led by a man I didn't happen to know at the time. But then a third person reached out to me specifically. And, of course that's his role, and you can assign guys to do that. Around here, we tend it to be the person who queued that workout. And on behalf of the site queue and the person who EH'd the guy, here's an email, very much, again, modeled after Sack's original email, that gives us everything we need to know. And then we're prompted, if we're tagged on that email, to follow up as well and say, hey, great job today. Looking forward to seeing you. I'll be here, here, and here. And that's worked really well. Again, I like it because it lets the guy know without a shadow of a doubt, beyond the shadow of a doubt, rather, that he is a part of something bigger than himself. Like, welcome to the tribe. We need you. We're thrilled to have you. Can't wait to see you next time. I'll come pick you up.
That's solid. So we have something in our region called an FNG capture form. So the guy comes out, and on that FNG capture form, it's a Google sheet. We'll get his legal name. We'll get his nickname. We'll get the guy who EH'd him, get his email address. We've also just recently added emergency contact information, and it goes into a database that automatically populates an FNG welcome email, very similar to what you're stating, that says, hey, welcome to F3 insert region name. Here's the queue schedule. You're now part of our newsletter. It's automatically entered into the newsletter, so he finds out what's going on in the region. Here's our national information. So that FNG capture form feeds into a newsletter, which feeds into an email. So he gets all the information at a push of a button. It's that simple. But I think the most impactful piece is when a guy follows up. And in the Fort region, the Nantan does it. But he also has a committee of men who help him out. So after a guy posts on the Slack channel, you'll see one FNG at insert AO here. We named him Kermit. And so the Nantan looks at it and he says, I'm going to reach out to this Kermit guy and I'm going to find out, a little bit about him. And I'm going to personally welcome him and ask him, where does he want to post tomorrow? And then he just tells him, hey, we've got a gear, we've got a run, we've got this, we've got that. And it feels like when you hear it from the outside, you say, that seems awful pushy that a guy is following up and saying, where are you going to be tomorrow? I'll be there with you. But at the same time, that's kind of what you need sometimes. You need a guy who says, hey, great job, when you coming back? Because if you just welcome an FNG the first time without talking to him again, it's real easy for him to say, I am sore the next morning. Maybe I'll come out next week, which turns into I'll come out never again. Yep. And then you waste a really cool name on a guy and he never comes back. And so that personal touch, reaching
Yeah.
out, a text, a call, an email, whatever it is. And then, as you said, to say, I'm going to be here tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
I'll pick you up. I'll be in your driveway at this time or whatever it is. It's just that personal touch. And I can assure you, the men that have come back, I've heard stories from our foundation director, Scratch and Win. The only reason he showed up the first time is because a guy was in his driveway and basically said, I'm beeping the horn, and either you're out there and I'm waking your or I'm beeping the horn if you're not out there, or I'm waking up your family. So I'll see you out on your front porch at 5:15 in the morning or whatever time it was. So it's that personal touch, reaching out and following up. And I think that's important.
I love the idea of the auto-populated form too. We keep one on Google Sheets, but certainly if guys are looking on ways to set that up, click of a button type technology, just ask. There's how to get a hold of us at SWT. I'll get there eventually on Twitter. Correct me if I'm wrong. You're at F3 Italian Job?
F3_Italian Job.
Got it. And I'm like the rogue warrior, right? So I'll say it and spell it. I'm funny, haha, but funny is with a PH. We love connecting guys across the nation. Yep. So, and let's be honest, across the globe now. So if you're hearing these ideas, you're like, man, how do they do that? We'll connect you to the guy.
And not only that, we have a cheat sheet that will literally say, and it's all the magic behind the curtain, the IT widget stuff that I don't know. But there's a cheat sheet that we can send that says, follow the following prompts, or we can just say, we know a guy who can help you out. Yeah, and we'll point you in that direction.
That we'll also upload that to the Stuff Worth Trying manual, because that's why it exists, right? So stuffworthtrying.com. One last point too about that personal touch. If you have a newsletter, I highly recommend, if you don't already, to include a section that welcomes FNGs. There's something special about a guy seeing his name in print, and that's another nice way to put a cap in him coming out and being brave enough to say yes to something he had no idea what he was saying yes to.
And that's another good point. I mean, making sure that the region knows, because if you have 5 AOs per day, there's a good chance you're not at the workout with that FNG. So it's building that relationship, starting that relationship, and seeing an email that says, hey, our FNG, we had 3 FNGs last week, here are their names. Or seeing it on Slack that said we had an FNG and his name is whatever it is. I mean, it gives that personal connection. It gives somewhere to start. So I guess the next point is, all right, so we've named the guy. We have welcomed the guy. He's come back out, and now he's a routine poster. What do you do to get him from being just a first F guy to digging more into the second F, the third F? How do you unlock that man's potential? What's important to get him from rogue guy that comes on occasion, maybe once a week, maybe once every other week? How do you get him more involved?
Yeah, F3 is laid out. The 3 Fs are laid out rather for a very specific reason, right? That we've said it before. We'll say it again, but the first F, that free workout, is the magnet. So we've drawn them out, but then how do you make it sticky? So that second F, the fellowship, is the glue. The sooner you can get a guy to a cafeteria, the sooner you can get a guy to a hump day happy hour, or a Saturday yard rake if you're trying to help a brother out elsewhere, or do a service project. That's that magic sauce that connects him to, again, something bigger than himself. So you hear it often, and it's offer to buy a guy coffee, right? Take him out to cafeteria, make sure he's connected to other guys outside of you. I saw a great recommendation come through the Twitter sphere earlier this week about going out and finding a coffee percolator and having cafeteria on site, pop in the trunk. It's right there ready to go at the AO. It just eliminates excuses. There's stories where guys, I was one of them, I was trying to find a way to slip out of a workout and not come back, but somebody cut me off at the chase and had a pair of gloves waiting for me, and I couldn't walk away from that. So the less excuses a guy has, the better off you're going to be at getting him to make this thing his new habit, right? How about you?
Yeah, I love that. Eliminating those excuses, kind of clearing the path, lighting the way. I think it's really important, as the guy's getting on fire and starting to catch fire, to get him on the queue schedule soon. I know a lot of guys, a lot of site queues will fill out their queue schedule 6 months in advance. And that way it's just easy. I know that I'm covered for the next 6 months. However, what do you do with the FNG? I can attest, I don't mind getting bumped for an FNG or for a new guy to get his VQ, to get his virgin Q. I don't mind sharing the Q with that guy. He needs to get involved. I've queued hundreds of workouts.
Yep.
He has queued 0. So site cues, get him involved. If that means you give him a few minutes just to do the warm up as part of a workout before you even throw him into to the wolves with leading an entire workout, teach the guy how to count cadence by doing side straddle hops for 5 minutes at the front of a workout.
Yep.
It's not going to upset the guys there because they have all been there. They've all done that. So get that guy on the cue schedule soon. I'm not saying the next week, unless that guy's ready. And let me be honest with you. I've met guys who on their very first workout, you could tell this guy could cue tomorrow. He's super fit. A lot of times he's military, and recently he's on leave or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
He knows how to count cadence. He knows how to count cadence better than most of us know how to count cadence because it's what he does. So you got to get those guys involved as soon as you can. Like you said, not only in the first F, but in the second F, the third F, you just got to plug him in, because I don't think I'm speaking out of turn when I say this. The more involved a man is, the quicker it is for him to get unlocked and realize that he's here to serve others, starting first in his home and then in his workplace and in his community, his place of worship. But you've got to give him that chance. And if you never give the new guy an opportunity, then you're really doing him a disservice. And that we exist to invigorate male community leadership. So give him a chance to lead.
Yeah, if you don't have the FNGs coming into your workouts on the regular, there's a problem down the road that's brewing. Your region's going to get stuck, and not in a good way. Another easy tactic too is hop on Mud Gear, order a stack of stickers, keep them in your glove box. Make sure you put one of those stickers in a guy's hand before he leaves that workout. If you can't get him to cafeteria, if you tried everything else, at least give him something to be a physical reminder of what he just experienced. Because, again, removing any excuses, there's going to be a level of responsibility and maybe some guilt, some friendly guilt when you hand over that sticker and say, can't wait to have you come back. Yep. So yeah, that's an easy one. You can get a ton of those stickers at Mud Gear. Yep.
So I wanted to do something a little bit different this week before we get to our challenge we're trying. And I wanted to mention something that literally came through this week. It was an email that was sent to f3nation.com. And when an email is sent to F3, and I'm just telling everybody how the sausage is made, when an email is sent to f3nation.com, that email automatically populates in a closed Slack channel called General Inquiries, and there are 18 people on that these would be your sector cues, your folks who are plugged in to make those responses and give a response. And I saw it last night. Hello Kitty said, "Who wants to take a stab at this one?" And I sat back and thought, okay, well, yeah, I'll give John a message. And I sent John a message. So this is the message that came through from a man who's never worked out with F3. He said, I love the concept and I commend you for this work. Not being judgmental, seriously, just curious. Why would the fellowship only be available to men? I look forward to hearing from you at your convenience. In his walk, John. And I thought, we talk about this. We talk about, the sophomoric humor, the guys just hanging out like it's a locker room. Mm-hmm. But is that really the reason? So here was my response. Thank you for your inquiry on f3nation.com. There are a few reasons F3 is open to men only. One is because there already exists a female version known as FIA, or Females in Action. Another reason is because our eyes are prone to wander around the fairer sex. No matter how disciplined we think we are, we tend to notice sports bras and yoga pants. Our group aims to accelerate in our relationships with others, starting first at home with our wives, if we're married. This would be this would be difficult for us to do if we were distracted by other women. But for the most important reason, we are open to all men, and men only, is the intimacy of our circle of trust. Every workout ends with this time of reflection to lift up prayers, concerns, or whatever's on our hearts. This intimate moment is for us to encourage each other in our times of weakness, and our relationships and conversations at that time are inappropriate to share with a woman that's not our wife. The COT is what separates us from any workout group. It's what helps us invigorate male community leadership. It's what helps us become better husbands, fathers, and brothers. We hope you consider joining us sometime, because it will be clear when you experience the COT in person. And John,
that, gentlemen, is why Italian Job does what he does.
I have, I'll be honest with you. I honestly, when it was men only, my thought was, well, it's men only because we say things we probably shouldn't say around women. And, my eyes would wander if there's an attractive female who's wearing yoga pants. And, but really, Dredd was the one who leaned in and kind of informed me. He said, but the COT, that's the secret sauce. That's right. And that's the intimacy that it's not appropriate for me to have an intimate moment with a woman that's not my wife. It is absolutely not appropriate for me to open up and not open up to my wife. So that intimacy that separates us from every workout group, that COT, that's really the reason. And John responded quickly. John responded with, hey, and he said, hey, this is great. And I appreciate you reaching out. And John said, I have a friend who's part of F3. He said he's a member of F3. That's people think there's memberships and dues and things. You guys who are listening know there's not. But I have a friend who's in F3. He's a member of F3. He's on the other side of the country. He said, maybe one day I'll join you guys for a workout, but right now there's none in Massachusetts. And I responded, I said, hey, John, we're working our way up towards Boston. And when we do, we'd love to have a high impact man such as yourself join us. So he reached out blind just because he sees things on Facebook that his friend posts and wanted to know. I did some internet sleuthing, some digital squirrel. He's a coach for a women's field hockey team. So that's probably why I was asking that question. Completely a good question to ask. And quite honestly, guys, if we haven't been asked that question before, you probably will be. And maybe this gives you an opportunity and a thought of how you would respond if someone asked the question of, well, why can't so-and-so? Why can't my daughter come? Why can't my neighbor show up, my female neighbor? And I'll tell you guys, I would have a hard time coming home and telling my wife that I worked out next to whoever it was. Yep. I don't know how she would feel about it. And quite honestly, I just don't want that to ever be a distraction from the workout itself. And I don't want there to be any question about the motives of why I'm there, because it's certainly not to be with women that are not my wife. It's there because I need that time. And it's a game changer. That COT is a game changer for me.
Yeah, we the Pax of F3 Nation understand completely. We may not be able to put it into words, but it's important to know that answer, because if we're thinking it, if we think that the reason it's all guys is because we get to tell fart jokes, we're not the only ones. That means outsiders that are looking at us and wondering what else we're up to and why we're just men, why we're a men's only workout, is they're assuming as much. And so to be able to speak eloquently and correctly about who we are and why we are, that's what makes F3 different, because everybody could assume that's what we do, but to actually find out, oh my gosh, these guys are really challenging each other to be the best versions of themselves, and that requires a space where it's safe and intimate and private. I would argue anybody that's not a virtuous leader is one that doesn't have a group of men around him that are keeping him in check, serving as his guardrails, but also being there as a shoulder to lean on when needed. So, well done.
Well, thank you, brother. I appreciate it. It was. I hope that John, when he posts in the future, I hope he's the next Nantan of Beantown. I hope that he's the guy who plants the flag in Boston and just takes it to that next level. And if I read this correctly, we are 12 workouts away from 3,000 workouts across the world now. 12 away from 3,000, which blows my mind. So, hey, this is a reminder to the regions out there. If you're not on the map, just follow the prompts and get on the map. There's literally a document you fill out. It's linked on the map on f3nation.com. Fill it out. Let's get your workout on the map. You might already exist out there and you're just not on the map yet. You might be our 3,000th workout. So get on the map if you're not already on it.
That's right. The heavy lifting's done, fellas. At least the digital heavy lifting. There's always heavy lifting in the gloom.
That's exactly right. So, guys, we've spent enough of your time today and don't want to belabor the point. We grow as F3 Nation because you a guy. That guy comes back out. That F&G comes back out because you show genuine care and concern for that man.
Mm-hmm.
Your invitation to bring that guy out could absolutely change that man's life. And if you change his life, you change his family's life. If you change the family's life, you change the community's life. You can be the impact. You can plant the seed for the next generation just by inviting a guy and just by saying, I'm glad you're here. So
That's right.
I encourage you men to do exactly that. So challenge worth trying. Tommy boy, what are you leaving with the men who are listening today? What challenge is worth trying?
Yeah, in vain with the conversation, look around your COT, look at your roster, look at your FNG list, find a guy who's relatively new to F3 and invite him to co-queue with you. It's really straightforward. Italian Job hit it on earlier, even if it's, leading Warmerama, but by you co-queuing with him, A, you're helping to further unlock him. B, you're showing him how it's done. We're talking about, we're getting the Q source a little bit, right? But we're talking about training and equipping and apprenticeship and all those great things just by inviting a guy to co-queue a workout with you. So start that next generation of leadership in your region by being the guy that walks across the circle and saying, hey, Kermit, we'll use Kermit's name. Hey, Kermit, I want to co-queue an upcoming workout. Let's get on the sheet right now.
Right. Good call, man. That's a good lesson for us to each learn, because we only grow when we bring new guys out, and getting them on the queue schedule, that gives him that chance to lead. And to be honest with you, sometimes that's the only thing he's ever been able to lead in his entire life. He's never been given that opportunity.
We're not going to leave you where we found you.
That's
so
exactly
don't even try to stay put.
Well, Tommy boy, thank you for the time again. Always a pleasure. And we'll do it again next week. But hey, be good, do something good. And I look forward to hearing about that guy who comes out and you co-queue with in the next few weeks.
That's right. Keep us posted, fellas. Italian Job, always good being with you. Love you, brother. Dominate the day.
Love you. All right, brother. Take it easy.